and tweaking our safety protocols just to ensure that we are ready. We want to make sure that whether now, then, later, we are ready to ensure that all of our students are safe, our teachers are safe, and our parents, when entering and sending their students to us, feel safe. We're continuously revising what we're doing based on the research and any protocols that are coming forward. And we've also, as we've mentioned in the past, have been vigilant about watching what the CDC says, what the Department of Health says, minus the political nonsense that happens. But we also are watching carefully as we see numbers rising around the number of COVID cases in our city. We're also very conscious that we are entering flu season as we are scheduled to open in November. And we also are mindful that we are entering a heavy travel season with respect to Thanksgiving holidays, Christmas holidays, and so forth. With that being noted, we have been really struggling with how do we reopen safely during all of these pieces that are converging. And so it is our decision when we talk about where we're going next to stay in phase 1, which is 100% remote instruction. We are doing this because of all these varying dynamics that are happening. As we think about our students, as we think about our families, as we think about our teachers, ensuring their safety is paramount in job 1. This has been one of those decisions that has weighed very heavily, but we are committed to continuing to support our students, to support you in this process, because we know it is not easy. In the coming weeks, we are planning to distribute additional learning materials for students to have and use at home so that they can continue to access their learning across all content areas and enrichment areas. And we are continually to watch how all of this unfolds so we can continue to make decisions in the best interest of our students and our families. We will continue to update you on our hybrid protocols, which are down the line now. And again, we are prolonging our hybrid opening until January 2021. With that being said, we will also continue to have a meeting every month for you, just to kind of update you where we are so we can support you in this transition, because we know, like I said, it is a challenge. And it is going to take a partnership and a collective effort so that we can support our students and you during all of this. In a moment, I'll open up the chat that we can make sure we can answer any questions you may have. But I wanted to make sure that we could connect and that we can inform you and be very transparent about where we are, how we arrived in this place, and what our next steps are together. Being very transparent, it has been a difficult decision, because we know how hard this is for you as families to really juggle working and taking care of kids at home and making sure that they stay abreast of the instruction and on what they need to do. I feel you every single day. It's a battle, but we want you to know that we give it a lot of care and consideration, and that we're also, like I said, in this together to help you navigate this smartly and productively, and without just blowing a gasket like I do sometimes at home. But we're in this together, and I do want to open it up to the chat for any questions.
So right now we don't have any questions in the chat, but anyone on the line, if you have a question or a concern, please go ahead and put that into the chat so we can address that. Okay, Looks like Adana. Adana's on the line and she's asking, I'm going to direct this to Ms. Forbes. Adana's asking, what will happen with 8th grade graduation?
That is a great question, Adana. And to be very honest, we haven't thought that far. And since we are pushing the date till January, that means that we still have the potential to come back within the month of January and still have a graduation at the end of the school year. So I'm looking at it in that vein, that is what we will be able to do by the time we get to June. It may not be everybody all together, but smaller learning pods, but definitely some type of celebration, whether that is online or small groups in the building.
Agreed. Agreed.
We also had another question about asking if the November 16th hybrid was voided. For those of you who came in late, maybe Dr. Dupree, if you can speak to that again.
Yes, thank you for posing that question again. Yes, the November 16th hybrid has been voided. We are delaying our in-person hybrid instruction until January 11th, 2021.
The next question was your decision not to open up yet based on clusters in public schools? Dr. Dupree.
Repeat that.
Was your decision not to open yet based on the clusters in public schools? I think you did kind of give reasoning in the beginning of, in the opening of our segment.
Yeah, I think part of it, not necessarily the clusters in the public schools, but the clusters we're seeing around the city. So that's been a huge part of it. Also, I just mentioned how when we were slated to open in November, it is in the middle of flu season, also heavy travel season. So we would be in school, leave back out for a holiday, back in and back out again. And that created almost for me this perfect storm of things that could potentially happen.
Awesome. So I think there may be some clarity around the grades and when they're returning. I had a question whether or not first grade will start in January as well.
Yes, all grades K through 8 will resume January 2021 under the hybrid model.
And can you give a little bit more clarity to fully remote versus hybrid, including the January reopening date?
So the January 11th, 2021 reopening date, it will be for hybrid instruction, meaning there will be a certain set of days that a student comes into the building and certain days that that student stays home. If a student remains 100% remote, they will be home 100%, but will still have access to live lessons.
I'll let Ms. Forbes answer this one. Deshawn wants to know, will there be a basketball team?
Deshawn, and you were practicing all towards the end of the year. So again, we are looking at all of the data coming from and information from the Department of Health. I know some organizations have begun some sports programming, but not all. So depending on where we are in January will be whether or not we can start that program again or not. But keep practicing. I know you carry that all day, every day.
So I can answer the next question to give you guys a little break. There was a question as to whether or not how many students will be in a class. So we will still continue with the 50% capacity guidelines. So there will be the maximum amount of students in a class will be 12 students and 1 teacher. I think the next question was in regards to the school hours. We spoke about the capacity, so I'll lead to Ms. Forbes. Would you mind answering in terms of the school hours, the hours in the day?
So for now until January, the school hours for middle school are 8 a.m. to 2:45 on certain days. And then On Wednesdays for middle school, there is a 2:45 to 3:45 club. In elementary school, it is again the same 8 a.m. start for remote and goes up until 2:30. So those are the hours for remote. When we do begin our hybrid model, there may be some minor shifts to that timeline, but as we get closer, we will give you those details.
And the next question was, can the school provide letters to employers who may ask about the change in the parents' schedules?
Yes, we can. Happy
Another
to.
will be an official notice that goes home to families, so that will be, and it'll also be posted on our website as well. The next question was, how can we check on students' grades this far? Ms. Forbes?
So as far as grades are concerned, we actually are gearing up for a progress report in the coming week to week and a half. So you will be getting information on grades for at least the middle of the first quarter. As far as moving forward, our goals, and we have not finalized this, but you should be able to probably by the end of October see their scores through Google Classroom. And we're also working on having you have a portal through our Power Schools system.
I was on mute. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
The next question was in regards to reopening and how will students be set up in their classrooms. I can speak to that a little. Part of the guidelines from the Department of Education and Department of Health was the 6 feet guideline. So classrooms are set up, desks 6 feet apart with the maximum of 12 students in a classroom. And there is a safety zone between teachers and students as well. That's 6 feet apart. We were able to get in and we set up all of our classrooms and configured the classrooms for the hybrid model, and it looks beautiful, safe. The next question is there any possibility to match the day for students who have siblings? I have one in 3rd grade and one in 8th grade. Forbes, would you be able to answer that?
Sure. So we have really been working to try and support families. We know this is a stretch for us all. I also have children in school, as most of us do. And we, in trying to schedule things, found it to be a huge challenge to match days, which is why in the hybrid model, you found that when we talked about it before, there were certain days for K through 2, other days for 3 to 5. So at this point, unfortunately, we haven't found a way around, those of you who have multiple children in the school to have the same days. But if this continues to be a challenge as we hit January, please reach out to our family education directors.
Sorry, I have a 3-year-old that's singing in the background. The next 2 questions, when is curriculum distribution, and is there, how often would we get progress reports? Ms. Forbes? Sure.
So the first curriculum distribution date is actually next week on October 9th. We will have morning hours and afternoon hours. I believe it is 9 to 11 on the 9th, and then also from 1:30 to 3:30 on the 9th, and that is for both elementary and middle. So elementary families would go to the 3:30 Alabama site. Middle school families would come to the 720 Livonia site to pick up workbooks, novels that children are reading, things that will support them while they're still doing the work online. I know some children need that hardcover text to work from. So October 9th is the first date. We will be adding other dates, but for right now, October 9th is the first one.
And parent-teacher conferences, Dr. Dupree, will there still be parent-teacher conferences via Zoom?
Will be.
I don't see any more questions flooding our box, so I'm anticipating that every family is really comfortable with the information that they're hearing today. Last question, will there be a new registration for next year? Any new registration? Specifically, our lottery opens up for all opening grades. If there's a sibling, siblings will have first preference for the lottery, and I hope that's going to answer your question. In terms of doctor appointments, do I notify the teacher and send info in on Dojo? So yes, if you have a doctor appointment, if a student misses class, please send a doctor's note via Dojo or email, whatever you're comfortable with in terms of your communication, and teachers will then forward it over to operations so we can be able to note the excused absences in their in Power Schools and HPS.
That's just a last minute word, just to note that we are constantly also trying to revamp or just tweak our online platform and working with students and learning. So one thing we will be sending out is just some updated information around our online expectations for students. We've been trying to ensure that students are using their school issued laptops appropriately and responsibly. So we have put in some additional safeguards that can kind of flag when there's inappropriate use on them. So we may be reaching out to you to let you know that, but we want to just fully disclose to you that we've put these measures in place, especially as we think about some of our students who are older, who have been responsible and are responsible for working online and staying focused. Sometimes we want to make sure we can support them in making the correct choices. So you look out for that information because it will be coming home very soon. And then also, we also are working with our authorizers and other authorizers within the city as we think about how can we create opportunities that are socially distant to bring our kids with teachers together, whether that's using our inner courtyard space at the elementary school for actual physical face-to-face meet and greet, but keeping kids at a distance and safe distance with teachers. We want to be creative because we know that this is important for them. Socialization is key. And we want to think about how we can be creative in this process and still safe while we are apart from one another.
Before we answer the next question, the person who put in the question regarding will school require updates physical in January, can you just clarify that, what you mean by that in the chat? In the meantime, we could go on to the next question, which is there an online math class for parents? We talked about that earlier about teaching and learning with parents and what it looks like at home. So maybe Dr. Dupree or Ms. Forbes, can you guys answer that?
We don't have one currently, but I love it. And I think we could probably find a couple of our teachers, one per grade level, that would love to be able to host one for you. Thank you for asking. And I can see Ms. Betson on the line, and we'll definitely jump on that.
All right, I'm going to try to answer that question a little bit. If you're asking, do you need a physical or a clearance from a doctor upon returning to school in January? If you are choosing the hybrid model, we are advising, just for your safety and for ours as a precaution, to still get a checkup from the doctor, make sure everything is safe before returning to school. However, actual physicals was done during registration. So if you haven't submitted your physical, please do so as soon as possible. All right. Any more questions? We can definitely keep the chat open. Will COVID testing still not be required for all to return in January?
COVID tests will not be required, but they are strongly encouraged. I've been trying to get my testing on the regular. I've gotten my flu shot, so I suggest that we do all these things. But we are strongly encouraging that this happens.
Can my daughter do remote learning for the whole year?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So this parent wants to know if their child can do remote learning for the entire school year.
Absolutely, you can. If you decide that you want to do remote instruction, even though we transition back in the hybrid model, you can do so. In December, we will be sending out a learning preference survey. We've sent that out before, but we will reissue it, redistribute it to get a more accurate gauge on what your preferences are, so that as we are entering the building, we have a sense of how many students we'll have in each class and then how many students we'll have off-site. Effective, I believe, 2 weeks ago, we have to submit consistently every day how many students are off-site and on-site. So that information will feed nicely into the work that we have to submit around reports and contact tracing.
Awesome. The next question was regarding kindergarten diplomas from last year. So unfortunately, we did not have the time to meet to have a pickup for kindergarten diplomas. So if you are going to be on site on Friday, October 9th, to pick up curriculum, we'll have your kindergarten diplomas from the previous year ready for pickup. Ms. Payano. Is there any math and reading resources for 4th grade?
So I'm not sure if Ms. Maynard is on the line, but I'll take that for now. So there are several resources for 4th grade. Also, when you do come for pickup, we will be providing the workbooks and as I said, the novels for that match their topics in school. And there we do have several online tools that teachers are using to support students. There is one that we are still negotiating with the company, but it's almost like, sorry, my dog's barking. It's similar to going to the library, but it's going to an e-library. And so that should be ready at the end of this month.
Awesome. So I'm going to give one more minute, well, a few more seconds so our interpretation services catch up. The next question was, are you doing temperature checks as students return to school? So yes, part of our daily protocol and routine will be doing a temperature check upon entering the building. They will also be hand sanitizing stations at every point of entry into the building. So students, visitors, guests, faculty, we're all asked to sanitize upon entering the building. We're all asked to take temperature checks. In every classroom, there will be a hand sanitizing station and hand washing station available for everyone upon entering the classrooms. We've put up social distance markers throughout the hallways, and we've set up the classrooms, like mentioned earlier, at a 50% capacity with desks 6 feet apart. I hope that answers your question.
And I think in the coming weeks also, Ms. Chatterton, we can share with families what some of those images look like in classrooms so they can have a better idea and level of comfort about what we've been doing and how we've been doing it.
Definitely. Even if I choose 100% remote in January, will I be able to change if I see that the cases change?
Yes, we will have certain entry points though. So what we are going to do is go back and reevaluate our designated entry points where students can transition from remote learning to in-person instruction. I think that's what you've asked. So we will designate what those entry points are, and we will actually send out information 2 weeks prior to that happening so that you can opt to move to in-person instruction if you are 100% remote.
Are you going to have classes outside?
I would love to have classes outside. There may be times where we are having them in the inner courtyard, but that's not guaranteed because space is just of a premium. Our choice would be to have it in the inner courtyard versus on the field. We have no plans at this time to have any outside, but you know, it's always up in the air. We like to be creative.
The next question was, would they still be going to the cafeteria for breakfast and lunch? And the answer to that would be no. We are trying to limit the interactions and crowding in spaces together. So students, when entering the building, they'll be going straight to their classrooms, of course, 6 feet social distancing, and they'll be given their breakfast. Upon entering the classroom, they'll be discharging of their breakfast items after they're done eating from the classroom. And at lunch, they'll have lunch within their classroom as well. Sorry, that's my 4-year-old. So after having lunch, they're all in their classrooms, and you're also encouraged to bring your own lunch if needed. You'll be discharging of your lunch from the classrooms and dismissing from classrooms outside. So students will enter at designated doors, and they'll actually dismiss from designated doors outside of the school building as well. What's going to happen with the banquet? Everyone looks forward to that 5th grade banquet. Dr. Dupree, can you answer that?
We look forward to the 5th grade banquet as well. We're unsure. We will still make sure we can celebrate our 5th and 8th graders in true Hyde style, but it's really too early to tell. It is really too early to tell, but we look forward to it probably more than they do, but we will make some celebration happen somehow in a safe way.
Will students stay in one classroom for the entire day? I can answer that. So yes, students are going to stay in their classrooms for the entire day. I want to speak to ventilation when we talk about that. So we do have proper air ventilations in place. And the reason behind that is we don't want to be able to cause infection, God forbid, if it's in the case. So we actually don't share space. Students are in one cohort, one pod, and they're on their designated days. On that note, Ms. Forbes, can you share the schedule for hybrid learning in terms of the date students will be coming in per grade level?
Sure. So I'll start with middle school. 6th grade is Monday and Wednesday in the building, remote the other days. 7th grade is Tuesday, Thursday in the building. 8th grade is Monday, Thursday in the building. Kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade are in the building on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And 3rd, 4th, and 5th are in the building Monday and Wednesdays. There was one question that I think we missed in the chat, somebody who came into the meeting a little late. They wanted to know the start date for our hybrid, and that has been moved to January 2021.
Awesome. So Deshawn has lots of questions today. Deshawn wants to know, will the teachers come in, like the art teacher, music, and possibly phys ed? So I think it sounds like enrichments, the enrichment classes.
So Deshawn, yes, you will be in a learning part. So once we do start the hybrid model, you will have a particular classroom that you will stay in throughout the day. And the teachers, including the enrichment teachers, will come to you.
Deshawn, oh, I'm a girl. Okay, sorry, it's under your name, Deshawn. Sorry. The next question was about the 2nd floor at middle school. So yes, we anticipate 2nd floor will be done upon returning to school. They're currently in construction, so they are building out the 2nd floor of our middle school. So our students will be the first to welcome the new phase of the 2nd floor for 7th and 8th graders. Hi, Talia. So on that note, we don't have any more questions. We will encourage everyone, we'll provide the next date of the state of the school meeting. And that is?
Yeah.
I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Dupree.
Oh, okay, thank you. So we will actually send that information out, but we anticipate having a meeting at the first of every month around this time, which I believe the next one is November 6th. Again, we'll make sure that you get that information out well in advance so you can attend. And we'll remain transparent about all that we're thinking, all that's happening. And if you have any questions that come up, ideas and or suggestions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. If you aren't connecting directly with your classroom teacher, you can always connect with our directors of family ed or either the directors of your child's school or division. So we just appreciate your flexibility. We appreciate you understanding and partnering with us as we kind of move through this really unfamiliar space. But we know that our kids will do well and we'll make sure we support them in every way, as well as supporting you. Stay safe, reach out if you need anything, and we'll continue to see you online.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.
You guys have a great evening. Have a great weekend.